Well, the ACT Party says it will invest in youth justice facilities run by corrections so that young offenders are held accountable for their actions. To discuss this, I'm joined by David Seymour. Hello to you, good to see you.
Hey Chris, good to see you too.
You've said the current justice system is not working. What do you mean by that? I think everybody would probably agree with you in some respects.
Well, everyone knows that ram raids have become an epidemic. They're out of control. And it's totally unfair on people I regard as some of the greatest New Zealanders. They're those people that work very long hours for not a lot of pay, working by themselves, often with their family upstairs in the same building. They're the people that run dairies and convenience stores, and they feel that they're not protected, that the community doesn't value them and that help won't come if they call for it. I think that is tragic. It's just not good enough. So everyone knows that, but let me just give you an example of why it's a problem. I hear from youth aid police officers who say that if a kid is caught and if they actually get to youth court and if the judge actually gives them a custodial sentence, none of which is very likely that all of that will happen, then they get taken to an Oranga Tamariki facility that's not secure and they leave. And when they leave, they've breached a court order, so they've offended again. But the punishment is the cop has to go and find them and then take them back there. And their punishment is for leaving is to go to a place that they can just leave again. It's total insanity. It explains why police morale is down, why it's hard to get a police officer, and why these kids feel that there's no consequence. No one can do anything to them.
They can't, and only this morning I received a TikTok video from a member of the public, and it was of them filming a ram raid on Ferry Road yesterday early morning, and allegedly the same offenders that ram raided a vape store just a week ago. And meanwhile, I spoke to the police minister saying that after these kids are caught ram raiding, they are getting the appropriate so-called wraparound support and they're not offending. Well, clearly that's not true.
I think there's a problem with the philosophy of the current government that they get confused between the victims and the criminals. They think the victims are just, unworthy of rights and often get put through procedures, testifying and so on, where they get very little contact from police. They don't get wraparound support, and then they get re-victimised having to go through the whole judicial process. On the other hand, if you're an offender, the government seems to think you might be a victim and you get wraparound support and pre-sentencing reports and all of this, oh, poor you. Well, the truth is that the government underestimates some of these kids. They're not stupid. They can calculate the odds. They know they probably won't get caught, and if they do, nobody can touch them. And that's why ACT says it's time to transfer youth justice from Oranga Tamariki to corrections, to build facilities and run them that are rehabilitative, and they will get the mental health support and the education and the physical safety and the nutrition that they've needed all their lives. No question about that. But it also has to be clear this is a place you don't really want to go and you won't be able to leave, and it'll give you a lot of time to think about what pathway you really want your life to take.
David, I know you've been challenged on what is thought to be best practice by a report from Oranga Tamariki, but I'm not sure we really should be following advice from the likes of Oranga Tamariki, given the state of what's happening in this country with youth crime. What do you say?
Well, Oranga Tamariki, sadly, is an organisation that has failed largely due to its obsession with putting a biased perception of the Treaty of Waitangi ahead of the best needs of a kid. They'll actually do these reverse uplifts where they take kids out of a safe forever home, put them somewhere else based on race. I mean, you just can't make this up, but this is the state of New Zealand today. The Oranga Tamariki system doesn't seem to be able to deal with kids who need their help, let alone kids who are running away from them. And we say corrections. You look at the Corrections Act 2004, it says the purpose of corrections is to punish and rehabilitate. That's what's actually needed here, not what Oranga Tamariki does, which has about 20 objectives in its legislation, some of which do involve offenders, but they're so confused they don't seem to be able to deliver a result, and these kids see right through it and run amok.
The criticism that's levelled against you is that the argument is putting kids in these prison-like facilities won't actually help them. It'll do them more harm because they eventually learn the tools of the trade. What do you say to that?
Well, there's always an argument that because something didn't work in the past, it shouldn't be done again. There's no question that Borstalls and Juvie had some real problems and that they actually became almost a university for crime. We don't dispute that. But I think we're being given a false choice. If people are seriously saying that letting kids run around, do whatever they want, face no consequences, terrorise the neighbourhood, 4 ram raids in Christchurch alone this week, and it's only Wednesday, if people are seriously saying that is the best option we have, and that it's impossible to create a justice and correction systems for youth that will deter and rehabilitate and frankly take them out of circulation so they can't commit any more crimes while they think about it. If people are saying we can't do that, then we might as well just give up. I believe that we can build facilities that will have the right balance of deterrence and rehabilitation. And that is ACT's commitment if we win government next year, or this year, sorry. Getting close.
Yeah, it is close, isn't it? What are we in? 10th of May, gee. Is Labour, though, really soft on crime, or has crime increased because of a number of factors outside of the government's control, like parental responsibility, like those who are already on the peripheral of society, who were barely coping before the pandemic, lost all control or perspective of their children, following the multiple lockdowns? Is it just a bit more complicated than saying let's get them off to the local youth justice detention facility?
Well, there's no question that there are a number of issues going on. And yes, you can talk about the effect of the internet on society. We've still got a pee epidemic, which is causing huge trouble. The government's approach to COVID-19 was solely focused on the virus and forgot about every other aspect of education, kids and business owners' mental health. They forgot about balancing their own books. I mean, no question, all of that's been disastrous. And there's no question that we need to do a lot better with the values of education, focus on school attendance, make sure that there's worthwhile things to learn so it's actually worth going to school instead of child-centred education where kids are supposed to teach themselves. Well, guess what? They figured out they can do that in their own bedroom, so they don't go. Look, I agree all of that. There's lots of issues, and when it comes to welfare reform, education reform, ACT's got a lot to say about those things. But right now, the most urgent issue is that the cops catch a kid committing a crime and they don't really have a sanction that they can put on them. The judges don't really have a place that they can send them with confidence that it will do any good. So as a result, they're just out and about, and law-abiding New Zealanders who pay their taxes, follow the rules, have no rights. Kids that will shoot up or smash up a store just for a TikTok video and the theft of 2 Moro bars, they're getting away with it. Well, these values aren't correct.
I agree with you. What I also find disturbing is that I think it's quite fair to say that many of us in Christchurch no longer feel safe. The days of, even just the other day, I was thinking, now, where should I park my car in town that's going to be safe? And, a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have crossed my mind, or where am I going to park my car tonight? Is it going to be safe? I mean, you've got a lot of car thefts in this city that have increased by up to 100% in some areas across the city. With respect to the top cop here in Christchurch, he continues to use the same lines along the lines of it's a small cohort of people causing all the crime. I don't believe that to be the case because it's happening so often. Just finally, your thoughts on that.
Well, the good cop could be correct, and if he is, then that's great. The question is, why aren't those people locked up? If he's incorrect and there's actually a wide array of people committing these crimes, then we're going to need more capacity to lock them up. Either way, people that commit these crimes should face a penalty. It should deter them from committing crimes and make sure that if they don't heed the deterrent and do it anyway, they get taken out of circulation so the rest of us can get on with our lives. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I talk to people who catch an Uber 400 metres down the street in downtown Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch. How on earth did New Zealand get to this point?
I don't know. It's scary stuff. ACT Party leader David Seymour, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.